What's happening? Hey everybody, how you doing today? Welcome to day 3 of my pre-launch live stream series for Blues Elevation Toolkit every day this week. I'm coming live every 4 p.m. Eastern Time, giving you a taste of the kind of tools and the strategies that you can finally get unstuck and start moving forward in your blues playing. Today we are diving into something small but mighty. That's the turnaround. This is the end of the blues, the moment at the end of your 12-bar blues that sets everything up to loop back to the beginning. With a few simple changes, we're going to make it sound a little cooler, instantly jazzier, more expressive. We're not going to do anything that's overwhelming, not a whole ton of theory, but what we're going to do is figure out, well, what's some different ways that we can do a turnaround, make it sound a little bit better. So whether you've been playing the same 3 chords for years, or if you're ready to break into something a little bit more sophisticated, this one is for you. Okay, before we get started in here, let's go ahead and check out the chat, see who we've got going on here. Let's see, Evan's here. What's happening, Evan? How you doing today? Hey, Dean is here too. All right, so Evan and Dean are here. We can get going. We're good to go. All right. So just a little FYI, I got a mosquito bite yesterday, and I have a little skeeter syndrome. I'm a little allergic to them, so the top of my hand is pretty swollen right now. So my playing's a little off. That's why, but it seems like I'm doing pretty good here. I got the ice at the ready just in case I need it. Aaron's here. Aaron says, let's start the party. Yeah, I'm getting excited for Friday. I've been working on the Blues Toolkit. Oh yeah, one other thing before we get started. The podcast last night. So I went out, the thought was I was going to take parts of the live stream from Monday and from Tuesday and take those and make the podcast out of them. And in the middle of the night, as I'm editing, I realized that the guitar was so loud that I couldn't hear any speaking over top of it, and there was no way for me to fix it. So can you all let me know, is that a decent level for the guitar? Before we get started here, I think I said David. David says, David from Ireland here. Hey David, how are you doing today? Hope you're doing good. We're going to be doing some blues, talking about some turnarounds here. Let's see. Evan says, sounds good from here. Okay, so I turned it down a little bit on the board, and it's a lot like playing live on stage. If you could sound great in your monitors, but you have no idea what you sound like out front. Aaron says, sounds good here too. David says, sounds great. Awesome. Okay. So, and Ellie says it sounds good too. All right, so we're good to go. What we're going to be doing is taking a look at the 12-bar blues jazz style here. So let me share my screen. Let's see, let's share this one here. So here is my Guitar Pro, and I have a jazz blues hooked up here. And so we'll just go through a jazz blues real quick, how it differs than a regular blues. And so we start off, this is in the key of A. We have an A7 here. And here, let me get my camera. Change. So we have an A7, and it goes to a quick 4 here. So a D7 or a D9, and then back to the 1. That is all kind of bluesy to this point. But now we're going to get to our measure 4 here. This is a 2-5 of D. What? There are 2 chords that are setting up the new chord that's coming in. So in the key of A, E minor 7, that's not what we want. That should be a dominant 7, not an E minor 7. Where does E minor 7 come from? Well, what it's doing is it's taking a look ahead, and it's setting up the new chord that's coming in. It's a 2-5 of D. It's a temporary key change, which is what a lot of jazz songs will do. So we're thinking in D just for these 2 measures. That's a D, E minor is the 2, and A7 is the 5. So let's take a listen to that. So we have A7, goes to D9, back back to A7. There's our E minor 7 to A7. And you hear how that sets up. Your ear wants to go to the D chord. It's a temporary key change. E minor 7 for 2, A7 for 2 to D7. Now, this is our second 4 here. Measure 5, and this is where the 4 chord's in, and that's where we are, just like a regular blues. But now we have this D sharp diminished 7th. Well, D9 and D sharp diminished 7th, that's a kind of a passing chord there. It's really the same chord. This is a D7, and this is a D7 flat 9. But if you take the D away from it, that D sharp, the flat 9 is a D sharp, and it makes a nice line. So you know if you've got your 4 chord is D, go up a half step and play diminished 7th, and that's that standard blues passing chord from the 4, and that takes the line from a D note to a D sharp to an A, to an E, excuse me, which is part of the A7 chord. Right? So then we come down here, we've got a C diminished, C half diminished. This is a 2/5 of the B minor 7th chord. So another little key change here. A minor chord progression uses a half diminished chord, which is a minor 7 flat 5, and then to a dominant chord. Well, that's the standard way, dominant chord to the F sharp 7. Here's our B minor 7. This is our 2 chord back in the regular key, and then to a 5 chord. And then we get to the last 2 measures, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, where we have A7, F sharp 7, B minor 7, and E7. So we're going to talk a lot about these turnarounds today. But before we get into them, some more people came in. Aaron says, sound good, Dean. And says, ain't that the truth? And Steven's here, all the way from Australia. How you doing? Very good to see you, Steven. Okay, so we've established we're playing in jazz blues, and there is some little temporary key changes, different things. And what we're going to be doing here is we're going to start picking apart the turnaround and see how we can use that in regular blues too. So what is a turnaround? Well, this is in bar 11 and 12 of 12-bar blues. It sets up the return to bar 1, and it creates motion and tension and release, and it tells you that it's over, the most important thing. So turnarounds are very powerful. You can make little changes that has a big impact on the song that we're playing. And a lot of people, their turnaround, what they do in a turnaround is what you think of their style, right? If you're a rock player or a folk music player or country player, this is a great entry point into jazz blues language. The standard turnaround in the key of A, and that's what we're taking a look at today. It's simple, it's predictable, and we're going to compare this with a whole bunch of different turnarounds today, ones you've already been using. You can see how upgrading to a jazz turnaround, even in a regular blues, can really, really help you with this stuff. So I'm going to set up my, I've got another thing here for you. Let's just go through some of the most basic turnarounds here. All right, so one little thing. There we go. So what's your most basic turnaround in the key of A? That would be the last 2 measures of a blues, just having it be the key. So you have a 5 to 4, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then start over on the 1. And that gets kind of boring, and you can get lost because that's a lot of the 1 chord at the end of a turnaround. So this is no turnaround at all is the first one. Next, we have the basic turnaround. This is what most people play. So that means throwing an E7 at the end of your blues, a 5 chord at the end of your blues. So if we had 5, 4, 1. And what that E7 does at the end of your 12-bar blues is it makes you realize it's over. And then when it starts back at the top again, it makes it very distinct. So you know that, hey, you're doing something good here. You're in there. But then we start to get a little bit more involved with turnarounds. So here's the 2-beat turnaround. So the last two measures will be A7, D7, A7, E7. Here comes the turnaround. So we're headed towards that jazz sound where you're adding some extra chords in there. Getting a little bit more involved, and this is a 1-6 minor 2-5 turnaround. So this sounds kind of like a 50s song, right? Like a doo-wop song. So this is your 1 chord, A7, goes to F sharp minor 7, then to B minor 7, and to E7. So that's a 1 chord going to a 6 minor, 2 minor 7, to a 5 dominant 7 there. And you hear that on I know Sapphire, the blues women, they do a lot of those kind of more melodic blues songs, and you'll hear this an awful lot with them. It's kind of a traditional, like a 30s and 40s types blues songs. But the jazz turnaround here, the jazz blues does something to that. And this is the one we're going to be talking about today. A7. F sharp dominant 7. So it took that F sharp minor 7 and it made it a dominant chord. So it threw that minor sound out the window, went back to this dominant. Then we have B minor 7 and E7. And this is a standard turnaround in the jazz blues, right? That right there makes your ear want to go somewhere. And what we're going to be talking about with this is why can we just plug in different chords during the turnaround? Why can't we just say, okay, well, instead of just having the A all this time, we're going to start throwing some other chords in there? Well, that goes back to what we were seeing earlier in the jazz blues, is that we have little pockets of temporary key changes, right? So a key change here, we always kind of work backwards when you want to figure out, well, where are these chords coming from, right? So we're in the key of A7. This here, this E7, that's the 5 chord in the key of A. So A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. E is the 5th. B is the 2nd, and it's a minor chord. So this is a 2, 5 back to this A, which comes in when we go to the top of the blues. Sounds like this. 2, 5, 1, right? So that's all in the key of A. But as we work our way back, things get a little different here. Well, what's this F sharp 7? What is this related to? It was a F sharp minor 7th. They've changed it to a dominant 7th. Look what happens in the key of B. If we're temporarily in the key of B minor, this is our 5 chord. And F sharp goes back to B. So listen to that. Here's an F sharp 7. 1 chord. B minor 7 to F sharp 7, right? So this is setting up the B. We're temporarily in the key of B7. Let's keep going back some more. So let's see here. So the A7 here, now we have the relative minor. A and F sharp are relative, but it's not a minor. It's just kind of a borrowed chord here. But so we're going from A to F sharp. Now Now the F sharp establishes we're in kind of a B minor chord to a 1, you know, the B minor 7, then to E7, this becomes a 2-5 in the key of A. So we're stringing along 5 to 1. We can always put a 5 chord before any other chord. We can always put a 2-5 chord before any other chord. These are we can add all sorts of different chord progressions in there, just isolating one chord at a time. This is the sound of jazz there, going through different keys. So I'm going to take a listen to this. That sets up the B minor 7. That F sharp 7, that's the 5 of B minor, that is called a secondary dominant. I'm sure you've heard that before, looking around. Let's see here. Can you make U larger? Yeah, thank you, Dean. I appreciate that. Let me see if I can do that. Let's see if we can do it even. No, it didn't do it even. Let's see. Is this going to be one of my choices or not? Let's add back in. See if I can. It's not letting me change this. Let's see. Is that just as big as it's going to get? Okay. Thought there was a way to do it. Let's switch here. No, it doesn't want to. Edit name, stop screen. Sorry about this. Just trying to get this a little bit smaller. I'll work on that for next time. So let me just take that out. I'll bring it back in when we're going to the next one. So let me get my guitar on a close up here so you can see. So we had A dominant 7, F sharp, dominant 7, B minor 7, and E7. So one of the things is anytime you have a chord, you can play a 5 of that chord ahead before that. So we could have this F sharp 7 here, the 5 of that is C sharp, dominant 7. So I could play the A, throw in a C sharp, was coming to an E dominant 7, I could throw in the 5 of that, which is a B. So if you're ever wondering, hey, how can I get some jazzier chords? How can I, throw in some passing chords here and there? The very first place you go is figure out, well, I've got this chord here that I'm trying to get to. What's the 5 of that chord? What's the dominant of that chord? And then you can throw that in on the last few beats before you get to it. New chord. Let's do it easy here. So let's say we're going back and forth between A dominant 7 and D7. Now I go to the D7. Before I go back to this A chord, I could throw in the chord that's a 5th away of that to add a jazzier sound to it. Well, what's the 5th of the key of A? An E. So instead of just going from A7 to D7, I'm going to go A7 to D7 and then throw in an E dominant 7 right before the A. In fact, I could throw in a 2-5-1 before the A. So what's the 2 of A? B minor 7th. Then the 5 is E7th and back to 1. So I can set up any chord with a 2-5-1 before it to get a jazzier chord progression. Now you're thinking, I'm not playing jazz. Why is this important? Well, because turnarounds, we have basically 2 in jazz. In blues. And then we have, that's the one that goes up, and then we have the other one. that's just the regular A7 to E7. These are going to liven up your playing. In fact, if you get to the point where you can do arpeggios of these, you can play these over top of a regular chord progression, and it's going to really make your playing sound fantastic there. I do want to show one other thing about this before we go. There's something called a tritone substitution. So a tritone substitution is when you play, you substitute a chord by a dominant chord a flat 5 away. Okay, this is another jazz trick here. And I'm going to take that B minor 7 from before. This is the third chord that we play in a turnaround. And I'm going to find out, well, what is the note that's a tritone away from this, a flat 5 away? So B, D sharp, F sharp. F sharp is the 5th. And we already have an F sharp before it. So what is a flat 5 of that? Well, B, D sharp, F sharp. Lower that 1, it's an F. We can substitute any chord by a tritone sub, a flat 5 away. So I'm going to substitute this B minor 7 for an F dominant 7 here. Now take a, so here's this one. Now let's take a listen here when I put in the substitute chord, which is this now an F7. We have this really nice line that goes down there. Let me show you up close here. So here it is. Yeah, I'll do it up here. Really nice turnaround, a really cool one. It can be in blues, it can be any style of music. I could even play it over top of a regular blues. Let's see. So the takeaways that I'm hoping that you're getting from this is that substituting chords and putting passing chords in is not something that it takes tons to think of. You just need to know what a 2-5-1 is for your for adding in before the chord, and for totally substituting a chord, just figuring out what the tritone away from it is. Now, I know you don't think like this in regular blues. We think 1, 4, and 5. So that's going to be the biggest change in this, is to start thinking ahead. Okay, what's a 2-5-1 leading into this chord? What's a 2-5-1 leading into this chord? What's the flat 5 of this chord? Maybe I can substitute it and get a really, really cool sound. And you think, well, what about my lead playing? Am I thinking that way? What's really nice is you can think in the regular chord progression. You can still be thinking B minor 7, but if you have an F dominant 7th there, you're going to get a really nice tension there. It's a really cool sound. It's a really nice trick there. And so let's see here. Let me get this ready for us here. So A7 was the 1, F sharp 7 was the 5 of 2, B minor 7 was the 2, and E7 was the 5. And that's a standard jazz turnaround. This is easy to drop into a 12-bar blues. I'm just going through my outline here and making sure I didn't miss anything. Let's see here. We did the swap, chromatic bass lines. That was pretty cool. And used for the last chorus to take it home. Let's see here. So the toolkit, which comes out on Friday, we do a whole section on jazz blues if it's something that you're interested in. We try to make sure that you have the most basic chord progressions to solo over, and we go through the history of blues and then end up with something a little bit more complex here. So you have your chord progressions, licks, comping strategies, the rhythms, and there we go. That was everything that I wanted to get to today. So I'm going to go ahead and close all this up here and go head over into the chat. We also have our regular weekly Q&A session with the Academy, and that's going to be at 5 o'clock. So I'm going to dip out a little earlier today. But I specifically wanted to talk to Dean, if Dean is still in the chat right now. So I know Dean's been doing a lot of work with triads, and this is dealing more with seventh chords. So how much, Dean, have you worked with the 2-5-1 chord progressions and using them in any song to set up a chord? And just take a second for that there. I had a lot of fun playing yesterday. I did a little jam for 3 or 4 minutes before we started. I was hoping to do a little bit of that today, and this hand problem has kind of kept me from that. Dean says he's working on seventh chords now. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to head over to my chalkboard here. Let me set that up real quick, and we'll start looking at where these come from. Dean says not much with the 2-5-1s there. Okay, so let me get the chalkboard set up. We'll put this back in. All right. Let's see here. Let me make it full screen. There we go. So we were in the key of A, and we'll write out the scale: A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. Just going to show you what we were working on theory-wise. 6 and 7. So we had an A dominant 7th. So it's a dominant 7th built on the 1 chord. And then we had an F sharp dominant 7th. So this should have been an F sharp minor if we're in the key of A. That's F sharp A, C sharp, E. So that's F sharp minor 7th. Then we had the B minor 7th here, which was B, B, D, F sharp, and A, right? So that's our B minor 7th. And then finally, the chord built off the 5th degree scale, and that was E, G sharp, B, and D. So that's our E7. So that's a basic 1, 6 minor, 2 minor 7, and then 5, 7 there. So that's the basic chord progression. And what you find is this one is swapped out for an F sharp dominant 7 there. And that's the 5 of the next chord, setting that up ahead. And that's something that you're going to see a lot of. You're going to be playing some chord progressions where you don't understand where did this chord come from. It sounds great, but I don't understand. It's kind of like in rock songs where you will have borrowed chords. Well, this chord doesn't make sense. It's not in the key. How am I using this chord? And you'd think, oh, it must be something that's really far away from me right now. And almost 95% of the time, if you find a chord that's in a rock song or a country song or a popular music song that's not in the key, it's a borrowed chord from the parallel minor. And once you learn how to do that, it's easy. Every time you find a chord that doesn't make sense, you go there. Well, same thing with this. When you run into a chord that sets up another chord, 2-5-1s, has that jazzy sound, it comes from one of two places. It comes from temporary key changes, going from setting a chord up ahead of time. So we've got this A7 chord coming up. Let's play a B minor 7 and an E7. That'll sound like 2-5-1 in that key. And then the other thing is the tritone substitution, where you just take that chord and you substitute it for a dominant 7th, a flat 5 away, and you get some really cool descending, ascending chromatic bass lines when you do those. It's pretty neat. So these are some things that are coming along. This is the more advanced stuff that's in the toolkit, but I did want to share this a little bit. I only shared a part of it. There's a whole lot more. So if you like learning these kind of things, this is part of it too. But anyway, here we go. So thanks everybody for hanging out with me today. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them into the chat. I'm going to get ready for our next session at the top of the hour. This is over in the Academy, and we're going to have a good time there. Now, this is nice now too. I've got a new monitor behind the camera, so I can see your chats, and I'm actually able to look ahead. So pretty cool. Aaron says he's looking forward to the toolkit. Yeah, thank you. I'm working hard on it. It's going to be done on Friday. I mean it. I mean it. So we're going to have a good time on Friday. I'll tell you that right now. Let's see here. Warren says, thanks, Lee. Thank you, Warren. Great to see you. Anybody else hanging in there with me for the last couple of minutes there? But very nice to see Warren. Okay. All right, everybody. I'm going to head off, and I'll see all the Academy members over behind the scenes at the Academy at the top of the hour. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.